Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michelle video. This week, we're exploring the Connected Histories website, which provides access to 25 different collections on a wide range of topics. We've covered some of these resources: London Lives, Old Bailey, Charles Booth Archive, in previous videos. This time we'll look at religious databases, crime broadsides, and some police resources. Let's get started. The website I wanted to talk about today is called Connected Histories. And if you recall, a few weeks ago when we were looking at that London Lives website, I commented that there were 3 or 4 other websites that use that same London Lives data, and we've looked at a few of them. So this Connected Histories website is very much a treasure trove of links to other sites, one of them being the London Lives data. So if you take a look at the home page here, there are basically menus across the top. Not very many. We've got a search menu item, resources, and guides. Over here on the right, we have research guides, which is the same as this guides link. We have a video introduction. If I click on the Watch Our Screencast link, it will take you to a video that gives a demo of how you can use their search screen. So I'll just go back. And the homepage itself, we've kind of got 2 sections. We have this search field up here, and then we have this discover our resources, and these little icons are all the different resources that you can search across, and there are 25 different websites or resources, and those are accessible through this resources tab at the top as well, or you can just click on the individual pictures. But let's take a look first at the search screen. You can do a keyword search. You could search by place. So I could type in Leeds, or I could type in West Yorkshire, or you could search by person. Now, there are a few tricks, I guess I would say, with their search. If you are searching for a person, they are expecting full name. So for example, if I type Renton, just the surname, and press enter, it says I've got nothing. But if I go back and if I type George Renton and press search, there are records. So it is not taking just a surname. It wants the full name. And if I click this more search options, basically these first 3 fields are what was showing up on that main screen for either a keyword search, a place search, or a full name. So depending on what option you selected, it is putting your search term into one of those 3 fields. And if you look down here, you would think, well, I should be able to type in Renton and search. But it doesn't work. It just seems to erase the data. So what I have found is entering anything into just the given name or the family name fields doesn't seem to work. So use these first 3 fields only, or do your search from the home page. Just type in and then specify whether it's a person search, a place search, or a keyword search. They have this slider bar here, so you can either click and drag, and you notice the from date is changing in here as I drag. So you can visually drag to narrow the search, or you can go in and actually select the year range. And then again, type in, and I want a person search. So what it's going to do is list where there are matches to your search. And up here, it's showing the criteria that I specified. So what you can do in this case, there's only one record here, one record here. If I say view all, it will list all of them. There were 16 for that particular one. It's only showing 1 to 5. If I click more, it's only going to show the first 5. I had to click view all to show all of them. The one thing I found with this search area, a lot of the results are restricted databases, which you would have to be logged in at a public library or at a university to be able to access. So for instance, if we look over here, there's only 2 of these matches that are free websites. The others are subscription websites, and a lot of the subscriptions are ones that your public library would have, things like the Gale database or ProQuest or some of these others. So if I just limit it to free websites, I have the Old Bailey proceedings, and we've looked at the Old Bailey website before. So the idea is I could click on this item and it would take me into the Old Bailey website, and I could look at that record. Now, just before I posted this video, I did some more testing of this search screen and discovered something interesting. Although I can't use just a surname on a person search, if I type my surname and do a keyword search, that does give results. Now, if I scroll down and take a look, for instance, at the proceedings of the Old Bailey, I've got 49 results. And if I look at all of them, you can see that Renton features prominently in the heading for a number of these. For others, Renton might not be in the title, but it would appear somewhere in the text. So it could be that there was a Renton who is a witness, and in fact, that's what happened here. We have testimony from Anne Renton. So if you want to search just on the surname, try doing a keyword search. What I found far more useful, however, was some of the other resources. So let's take a look under the Resources tab. And these are those same icons you saw at the bottom of the home page. So 2 of the resources I'd like us to look at, and you'll notice some of these will be familiar. We've talked about the York Cause papers before. We looked at the Charles Booth website a few weeks ago. Let's take a look at this Clergy of the Church of England database. So when you click on one of these resources, you come to an information page, which gives you the main URL of that website or that project. So that's the key thing, this main URL. But there's also description of what this is all about. It might give you some information on what's in this particular collection, what it's missing. I find there's also frequently a list of other links at the very bottom of the page. So in this case, we're just going to click on this clergy database URL, and we come to this page. So what I'm going to do is click on this link that says database in the menus. And it brings me to a search screen. So if you have ancestors who were in the clergy, you might find them listed in this database. Now, I did find that searching by surname isn't going to be helpful in that they want their person ID. But you notice there is a browse persons. So if I check to see were there any Rentons that were in the clergy, well, there is 7,163 R's, and fortunately, there is a scroll bar here, this gray block. So I can very easily drag that block down until I come to, there we have it, William Renton. And if I click on that entry, this is the information it has. And I'll just make my screen a bit bigger here. So we've got a liturgical event. This was his ordination. And I could view the full record. And it's saying it's Bishop Thorpe. And it gives me some references. Then apparently, so this is another entry for that same event. These are his appointments. So he was at Harewood. And there's the details. Stipend of £60. And he was at York St. Mary Bishop Hill Jr. And again, we've got the information. So for this individual, there's not a lot of details, but for some of your ancestors that might have been in the clergy for a number of years, you could have extensive information. There could be a lot of records listed. So this person, for instance, these records go from 1622 to 1640. And you can trace their, in this case, education, when he was deacon, then priest, and the years that he was serving and where he was serving. So it's a useful website. So I thought that was an interesting one to look at. Now, if we go back to resources, the next one I wanted to look at, since we're in the religious vein, I thought this one called Who Were the Nuns was kind of interesting. So again, I decided click on this main URL link, and we come up to a search screen, and the default is searching by surname. So I didn't find any Rentons, but I did find a Braithwaite, and I did find a Sunley. So here's the information it gives. it tells us this is the individual, Ursula Braithwaite, and it gives a little summary here. So the information from the records, her religious name was Ursula. She was born 1654, gives the death date, says she died in Paris. She was 55 years old. She was with the Augustinian nuns. She was classified as a Paris choir nun. She professed her vocation in August of 1676, and it gives the sources and some notes. She served as secretary to the council at the behest of the prioress, and it gives the range of years. If we look at Sunley, we have Elizabeth Sunley. And this one, again, it gives the date she died. We get her father's name. She was with the Benedictines, a Brussels lay sister, and it gives the information of her dowry when she professed her vocation. She had a dowry of 120, I assume that's florins, and it gives reference information. So again, I thought this was a rather interesting website if you have female ancestors who might be nuns. And there is a publications page that was interesting to look at. These are all online copies of these documents. So for instance, if we look at the register of the Benedictine nuns, it's a transcript, but look at the years and it's showing the information about when they professed their vocation, how old they were, their deaths. So a lot of these are almost like little biographies of some of the individuals. And this information I did check for Braithwaite and Sunley in these documents. They're not listed. So this is certainly not all of the sources that made up the information in the database. This map was interesting. It's showing where all of these different orders and convents were. And what I found interesting is you notice how many of them are in northern England, which makes sense. That's where so many of the nonconformist movements were. I think they tried to get as far away from the seat of power in London, because for this period of time, we're talking 1580 to 1800, there wasn't any real acceptance of non-Church of England worship. So these maps are quite interesting in that they just show for the different orders, this is the Dominicans, where the convents and where the groups were concentrated. So again, I thought that was quite interesting. So we've talked about, let me go back. So we've looked at resources. Let's take a look at guides of all of the pieces of information on the website. I found the guides were the most useful. And there are 9 guides. The one I want to focus on today is this crime and justice. So if we click on that, we come to that information page. And in addition to all the background information, you can see how many clickable links there are. There are all these items in blue. So this is a wealth of links to other websites. And I'm just going to enlarge the screen. So for instance, there is a link to the proceedings of the Old Bailey. There's a link to the London Lives project, convict transportation registers, the cause papers, which we've looked at before, witches in early modern England, if you want to know about witchcraft trials, basically. So all kinds of links. But what caught my eye, I always look at the bottom where it says related websites. I thought dying speeches and bloody murders, crime broadsides collected by the Harvard Law School Library. So this is the Harvard Law School Library, university in the United States. So I thought, well, I have to see what this is about. So I clicked on dying speeches and I came to this homepage, and it's giving you an overview of the types of capital crimes, and it's telling you that these broadsides were one page usually, and they were often the dying speeches or the confessions and last words of these convicts on the scaffold, and sometimes they would be written as poems. They're saying often there were warnings to would-be criminals, and they were often illustrated, showing the execution scene or vignettes of the crime scene. So I thought this would be quite interesting to explore. So if you click Explore this collection online, you come to this homepage for English crime and execution broadsides. And there are apparently 587 items, and you could search. I didn't find any of my Rentons in this particular collection, but what was handy, if you just click on the magnifying glass or click inside the search field and press enter, you can see the list of items and just scroll through it. And there are all kinds of very nasty crimes. But if we scroll down to number 16, for instance, the life trial and execution of William Booth. So I could click this link, or I could click on the broadsheet image at the side. And I am brought to a copy of that broadsheet. Now, this little double-headed arrow at the top right of this little viewer window, if I click that, that takes me to full screen. So it's much easier to read this particular document. And we have our navigation controls down here. I can zoom in by clicking the plus sign. And you'll notice it's giving basically a little biography about William Booth. It's talking about what he was charged with, that he was brought to trial the 31st of July. And here's the preparations for the execution. And basically, his wife, his sister, and his two daughters, and it gives their ages, took their final leave of him. So there's a lot of biographical information in this broadsheet, in addition to just the details of what he was charged with. Now, in order to return back to the website, the website page, you just click in the top right corner, those two little arrows, and you're back into the regular page. And if we go back, you can continue scrolling through. So I thought that was quite interesting. Something else I discovered I thought this heading of curiosity collections, I thought that was interesting, and I wondered what would happen if I clicked on it. So I did, and it brought me to a whole bunch of other online collections. And as I scrolled through, there's the one we were just looking at, English Crime and Execution Broadsides. There's one about immigration to the United States. The one that I thought sounded interesting was this Studies in Scarlet. And I thought, well, we definitely have to visit that exhibit. So this is the same kind of thing. It's trial collections, all to do with marital and sexual situations that came before the courts. So if we look at this list, you're going to have libel. We've got divorce cases. So again, this is an additional collection that has some really interesting information. Now, the last area I want to show you, so we've looked at, and this is, let me just get back into it. So we were looking at guides. We went to the Crime and Justice Guide, and then I had scrolled down to the bottom and we clicked on this Dying Speeches and Bloody Murders. The other one I want to show you is this History from Police Archives. And we come to this particular page, this particular website. And what this is, it's background information and courses that they've designed for school children, but there is a wealth of information in here. So there are basically two sections of courses. We've got a course called Police in Wartime and Citizenship, and that's described down here, and it's got 2 modules. And there's also this Metropolitan Police course, which is 6 modules. And then they've got this link for resource material. So there's 3 basic sections that I'm going to show you. And I've got the links set up over here. So if we click on Police in Wartime and Citizenship, we come to this History from Police Archives. Now, what you're looking for is the continue command, and that's this word at the bottom right of this image. And if you click that, you are now into the tutorial information. So you can either do the role of the police during the Second World War or the police and citizenship. And if we click on this one, it's giving us links to all kinds of background information. And because this is a course for students, there also are worksheets. And the worksheets include different exhibits. So it's worthwhile exploring some of this information. Now, if we had instead gone back, and I'll just retrace my steps, and done the police and citizenship tutorial. Similarly, there are links to background information and various worksheets. So a lot of useful information here. So we looked at this first study course. If we take a look at the Metropolitan Police, again, we have an image. The continue link is a bit harder to spot. It's down at the bottom here underneath these two officers. We click continue. We're into this course, and there are 6 modules. So again, you can click on any of the modules and look at the information that they've got. Take a look at the worksheets, take a look at transcripts of information. So again, a lot of useful information. The last link I want to show you under this same History from Police Archives was that resource material. And if we click on that, again, we come to this page, and here's that continue link. And we're into this resource material. And we can look at their station records. If we click on charge books, for instance, it's actually going to show you excerpts from the pages. And we can page through the charge book. We can look at information on the brothels. There's the suspected houses. So it's showing the addresses of the suspected houses. So again, various pieces of information. So I thought those resources were interesting to look at, but again, that is only one of the research guides available. There are all of these different guides that you can take a look at, like poverty and poor relief. And again, if you scroll down, it's giving you links to other websites. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to download the handout. You'll find the link in the video description at the bottom of your screen. You may have to click more to see the handout links. Thanks for watching.